Yesterday, somebody on the Discord chat for Awakened, for Lunar Ash even, she came out the closet that she had a celebrity twin flame, and she'd done some videos on it, so I thought I'll go along and have a look. And I was listening to some of the things she was saying, and it reminded me of my first connection. I thought, well, she's using these as her experiences of that connection, and I had that with him. And that made me wonder. There was a link on her video to a celebrity twin flame on Twitter. I went there and I had a look, and lo and behold, there's a picture of him. I thought, right, this is not coincidence. There's something happening here. So I went into the whole readdressing if he was. I deemed him a false twin. That there was absolutely nothing bad or wrong with him or the connection. It just couldn't go as far as I was looking to go. So I asked the universe for some signs if he was more than just a false. Still 2 days to go on that, much to someone's distress. And I asked for signs that my current connection is my twin, and I got answers both times. So I'm more waiting for these last 2 days because I said I would give 2 days. So anyway, now I'm thinking that his picture appearing on that Twitter feed was to bring that whole thing to my attention, because it's in all my twin flame videos. I don't think I've mentioned it, but my false twin's image, after him being brought to mind like that on the celebrity twin flame Twitter page, just to me is symbolising that there is something there, and it feels more mission based, more purpose based, like there is something here for you to do. I asked to dream about it last night, and I dreamt of his name, but I never saw his face, and the name wasn't directed to him, it was another. So that's just more that makes me think it's not literally about him, but he's like a sign for that. So yes, I don't even write their names down in my own personal journals, and that is something that I need to get over. I've never mentioned once in my vlogs that my twin flame is famous or a celebrity, mainly because my very first connection from 7 years ago, I was connected, going through the connection process with him for about 5 years, and it took me 5 years just to accept him as anything, because he is famous. I don't like that word, celebrity. I don't really like that word either, just well known. He's well known by many. And it took me most of those years to get through that. And it was like, usually you get triggered by the other's persona and how parts of them make you feel. This was like having to go through an extra layer, because there was the layer of persona of the celebrity over that. Not just their layer, but what that sparked off in me. And I found it really difficult, because there's the persona that they are giving out as that celebrity to the masses, and that was triggering lots off in me. It was triggering my whole idea of, even more, my God, am I crazy? I knew I wasn't obsessed, because I have never, ever once, touch wood, ever been one for crushing or following or having idols as celebrities. I've never been that sort of person, so that didn't worry me at first. Especially with the experiences I had with my first connection. It was just obvious that it wasn't that. I had to go through everything that made me feel. What that reflected in me, what that triggered in me. The comparing of myself to him, which is another thing that twins do, and that was just overdrive for me. It took me 5 years just to accept that there was a connection. It took me 5 years to accept that there was a him underneath all that external celebrity persona that was made. And then it took me, was that 5 years? Yeah, that would have taken me about 5 years. And then the last 2 years were getting through his actual persona of, you know, who he is here, just as outside of work. But I can see now that there were some really important things that I had to learn to accept, and the things that I had to release in myself. When I realised that I couldn't go as far with him, and I wanted to, I knew that I could go further in my path, so I decided that is exactly what I was going to do. And at that point I could understand that he was a really good false, I don't want to use that word, false. He was a really good, I don't even want to say catalyst, I guess. Even though catalysts are really short, this was like a long 7-year catalyst, but he was really good at that. I didn't quite understand. I thought there must be an easier version. You know, it could have been anyone, just some random person I see on the street, but why was it him? I soon came to understand why. When January this year I was connected to another celebrity. I wasn't looking to connect to anyone else. I just said where I was in the last connection. Something happened and it made me think, wow, you know, this is these astral meetings and all this stuff's really happening. That's not me. That's not what I want. I want to bring something fully through between us physically. And I got the impression that couldn't happen. So I left and I moved on. And a few months later, it came to December last year and I said, next year I want it all to be about bringing this into 3D, because that is where this is going, and I would like someone who can bring this into 3D with me and go that extra distance that the last one couldn't. And in January I was connected to this new person. Though it was actually just before I became aware of this newer connection. I was actually already connected to this other person because I had actually felt their etheric body as my own at one point. So, and they did, whilst I was going through it with the previous catalyst, I was aware I was having a conversation with someone that looked just like him. I didn't think of anything of it at the time, but he was telling me things and I just didn't think about it at the time. But yeah, I connected to him. That came to the forefront, I should say, this year. And he's a celebrity again. And it makes sense now that everything that I went through with the first celebrity was preparing me for this one. Because, yeah, there was the whole surprise and the shock of it. Of course there was. I wasn't expecting there to be another celebrity. I was expecting just someone from my everyday that I've never met before to come along. And instead I get this, and I was certainly not looking for it. And if I had to have made a choice, I wouldn't have chosen him. And it was a shock and a surprise. It really was. it was a lovely slipper shock and surprise. And I went a bit through the bit, no, it can't be, no. Is this, but yeah. There's the usual denial and the resistance from the suddenness and the shock of it. And I've been speaking 11 minutes now and I still haven't quite gotten around to what it was that I was going to talk about. So, the celebrity part. Celebrity twin flames. I don't even like that word. I mean, celebrities are people too. You know, they're here under the exact same things that we are. The only thing that's different is that their career means that a lot of people get to see them a lot of the time. That's the only difference. And I don't like the word celebrity. It's not them, it's what they do or how they are known. I haven't even written their names in my own personal journals. I can't even bring myself to do that. I just use their initials. My first connection was to... that's in case I want to blank the name out, because I don't want to name names because it's not my place to name their name. Yes, some of that is through my own fear. However, it's not right on connecting them to all of this without their consent. So I seem to go through the whole connection with him in dreams. It was like we were living a life in dreams. It was so strange. And I went through the whole thing, the process there. Now, with this new connection, it doesn't really, all that stuff with the first one, it doesn't bother me anymore. I'm past all that. And I'm grateful that I'm past all that. Because that whole lifestyle and career, the whole spotlight on them, that doesn't bother me anymore. I think it is important that, I don't personally like using these words, though I hear other people use them and I kind of understand what they mean. But I think it is important that more true, authentic twin flames, especially those who have a connection to someone who is well known. I think it's definitely important that more of us speak out, because it's just getting buried under attacks of guilt and shame and delusion. I had to go through those when I was dealing with my first connection. At the very, very beginning, before I really started on the process, I had to go through those, and I think they knock you down really quick, and I think it's definitely more important that more of us speak out, especially as we're going through the process, about the process, because that's where it's important. Not just saying that you have one, but to actually go through it. It'll help others to realise that it is possible. I mean, they're people too. It sounds really stupid to say, but people seem to forget that they are people too. And the whole process, especially like mine, I've gone through it. I've been going through, the process initially started for me 7 years ago, but I've known about it for at least 20 years. And it just goes to show that you don't have to physically meet the person to have a connection with them, and you don't have to physically meet the person to start off the whole process. So I remember when I first mentioned my first connection was a celebrity, there was lots of responses. It was on a spiritual chat room to a few people that I've spoken to a lot, and these were just random replies from others that we use in the chat room. And there was speaks of, are you being delusional, it's just an obsession, and they clearly didn't know anything about me to know that when it comes to the spiritual, I actually have a lot more of awareness about myself and the spiritual and experiences to know the difference. Though obviously they didn't know the difference because they hadn't experienced it yet, or just hadn't experienced it, so they wouldn't know the difference. A lot of people seem to think it's because they'd love the idea of having their own connection to fame and fortune in this way, you know, oh, it must be great. Hell no. It is so much harder. It is so much harder. It's once you get over that initial front celebrity persona, then it's just the same as any other twin flame. But I might put this up yet. I mean, I'll heavily edit it, but I think it's worth it.